Committee meeting to order, starting at 4:48 p.m. We'll just do a quick introduction for the audience at home watching, and we'll do an introduction starting to my right.
Shane Blazer, Mayor.
Sue Schill, City Attorney.
Scott Kellogg, Alderperson.
Dean Benneman, Alderperson.
Joe Terry, Director of Public Works.
Thad Kubishak, Alderperson.
Steve Koth, Alderperson. There was a request to move an item on the agenda. There was a request to move item 9 up to the first spot. I'll ask for unanimous consent from the committee to move that up to the first item. Scott?
I agree.
Thad?
I don't have a problem with it at all. Go ahead.
All right, so item number 9, which we'll take action on first, is discuss and take action on the university year engagement going forward. I'll start with you, Mayor.
Yeah, we have a gentleman on the call named Gavin from University Year, and he's got some information he'd like to present. And then Mr. Kearns is in the audience, who will also be available for questions. Is Gavin online?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay, so can I take it away then?
Yeah, go ahead, Gavin.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. I'm honored to be able to address the Wisconsin Rapids Finance and Property Committee and Mayor Shane and all the residents that are out there listening. My name is Gavin Luter. I'm Managing Director of an initiative at UW-Madison called the University Alliance, and we manage a program called the University Year. And I have a statement that I prepared, and I'm happy to take any questions. But over the last year, I've been working with the former mayor, Zach Bruwink, on an application submitted by a team from Wisconsin Rapids to the University Year program. So we are a program at University of Wisconsin-Madison that seeks to connect the resources of UW-Madison with the needs of local governments. The application was submitted by the mayor, city staff, the Heart of Wisconsin, Chamber of Commerce, Wisconsin Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, Ho-Chunk Gaming, NACUSA, and Extension. My assumption was that the application reflected an authentic desire by community leaders to work with University Year, I'll call us UCY for now, on projects that were important to the city. We logged dozens of hours meeting with the mayor, city staff, and additional stakeholders virtually and in person to discuss projects that related to economic development, arts, humanities, and community branding. I want you to know that it was not my intention to mislead the city council about projects. We only have had positive experiences reported to us from other participating communities who submitted similar applications, and from what I could tell, led to similar processes in their respective communities. I had no reason to believe that the process in Wisconsin Rapids was any different from our previous partners. As you all probably know by now, our program does require a financial contribution from local governments while also requiring dedicated staff time to help lead projects. We, as UCY staff, worked on the project in good faith because we expected payment from the community once projects had been matched. We did not know the City Council and the Property and Finance Committee was not brought into the discussion about payment until now. We really try to avoid getting too involved in discussions about how cities go about paying for the program. We just ask for assurances that the community does pay for the program sometime over the 3-year period that our program runs for. The original investment that the mayor told us Wisconsin Rapids could make was close to $75,000 because of the amount of projects in the city wanted to accomplish. We charged $25,000 per kind of thematic area. There was the economic development, community branding, and arts and humanities. However, by working with your community over the last year, we narrowed the scope to just one thematic area where we connected arts, humanities, branding, and economic development. So we were expecting to get a total cost of $25,000 for only about six projects. After speaking with the mayor and city staff, we agreed obviously, the discussion went the way that it went last month at the Property Finance Committee, and you all chose not to fully support the program at $25,000. So after speaking with the mayor and city staff, we agreed that I would submit a cost accounting of how much time and money we've spent on the Wisconsin Rapids UCY program, and the total amount is $12,582.22, which is just about half of the original amount that we were promised by the city. I appreciate your consideration of covering the cost, despite you all probably, I know for sure, did not have much advance notice. To cover the remainder of the costs, I hope I can work with you all, Mayor Shane, and the city staff to take our projects to UW-Madison alumni or area businesses, and hope that we can leverage your contribution for maybe a one-on-one match. As a sign of good faith, I've decided to continue the partnership with Wisconsin Rapids because Mayor Shane assured me that the staff are willing to offer their time in kind to help manage the project. And I want to emphasize that Wisconsin Rapids will not incur any future costs. I felt like it was important to still follow through with the projects because we've done so much to prepare for them. Faculty and staff at UW have committed their time to plan for an impressive set of deliverables, we think. We're confident that you all will find the deliverables helpful in advance advance discussions about economic development, arts, humanities, and branding. And we also, at the last minute, matched one project about flooding at the roundabout of 17th Avenue, Gaynor Avenue, and 2nd Avenue South. So we're also considering that Wisconsin Rapids is a partner for this coming academic year. We will treat you all as the same as other communities. We just can't commit to matching any future projects. I'm really sorry that things turned out this way. It's my sincere hope that we maintain a good relationship with Wisconsin Rapids and that you all might consider being a full partner of University Year in the future. Our application is open every year, and we try to be flexible to work with communities to figure out projects and timelines that work for them. We have a lot to offer Rapids in a variety of areas in government performance and innovation. You have my word that it will continue to dedicate time to ensure that the projects that we have matched are successful. You all might be familiar with the concept of the Wisconsin idea at UW-Madison, basically that UW should be consistently focused on serving the citizens of Wisconsin by building their capacity to do self-governance and make informed decisions. This idea really is important to us and motivates us to remain in partnership with you. So I thank you for the opportunity to make a statement and to continue, hopefully, to work with you all. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Gavin? Go ahead, Thad.
Hi, Gavin. My name is Thad Kubishek. I'm alderperson and committee member on this committee. And one thing I want to emphasize is that I don't think that there's any hard feelings with the university as far as the city of Wisconsin Rapids is concerned. I think it was more of a procedural issue, the issue being the appropriations of monies, and it wasn't in the budget and it didn't come forth through the finance committee. So please do not feel that the city of Wisconsin Rapids has any ill feelings or efforts toward the University of Wisconsin-Madison or any other university school here or your specific program with that. So that I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification, and we feel the same way. We don't have any bad feelings toward you all. We just hope we can continue to work out what we've done.
Anyone else? Anything for Gavin? Kyle, do you have anything?
I don't have anything specifically other than, again, in full support of what Gavin's done and will continue to do. I think there are some good projects upcoming. You know, one of them, we just walked a faculty professor on the southwest side of the city, myself and Joe Eichstead, for a flooding mitigation project that can piggyback off of our flooding study that is soon to be done as well. So certainly there are some benefits that hopefully we'll see in the near future from this partnership.
Thank you. I see that this was take action. Anyone have anything else? Scott?
I agree with that and the compliment with regard to the university. The only concern is I'd like to know how the Common Council will be informed as projects evolve. Sometimes what happens, a project evolves and it ends up to be something that we had no idea was going to go in that direction. And it's just that periodic, not a detailed information, but just an update as different projects progress. So we're not informed at the end and find out it's something outside our realm. But I agree, I really appreciate your adjustment to helping and working with us, and we want to work well with you. But just the idea of keeping the Common Council updated periodically, so as regard to the progress.
Yeah, it's a great question, and we do have project leads who are kind of walking with us, next to us the entire time, but definitely I'd love to work with the mayor to find times to periodically update the council about progress we're making. Absolutely 100%. We're able to do that, and we'd love to.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Excuse me. Yeah, we can schedule updates at finance committee meetings, do some project updates throughout the year.
Good.
Or we can do an email update too.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
All right. With that, I will make a motion to continue with the university year engagement program going forward.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. All right, item number,
Thank you all very much.
welcome.
Thank you, Gavin.
Item number 2 is,
Right.
item number 2 is, in open session, the committee may go into closed session under section 19.85, para 1, para E of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Para A, in closed session, the committee will discuss a proposed agreement with Urkel Worldwide USA, Incorporated, for the storage of rail cars in the Rapids East Commerce Center. Para B, the committee will return to open session. Para C, the committee may continue to discuss the proposed agreement with Urkel and may take action on the agreement. Attorney?
Yes, I think Urco, it might be appropriate for Urco to make a presentation prior to you going into closed session, if that's okay with the committee. They're available, and I think it'd be good if they went through their presentation first, and then after that, you could go into closed session.
You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, let Urco make their presentation, and then we'll go into session and return to open session before any action's taken. Is there a representative from Urco here?
Yes, my name is Dale Woodfork, plant manager at the Urkel Worldwide facility here in Fort Edmond. And I have with me Lisa Wolf, who's our commercial manager for the site as well.
Hello. Are you guys remotely? Are you guys remotely controlling your presentation here, or?
Yes, I think I've shared my screen. I'm not sure if you can see it.
Yep, I can see it from where I'm sitting.
And I've also
If
handed
it's
out.
okay. Is it better if you share from your end? I know I sent this earlier.
I think Kyle was going to, not Kyle, Kelly was going to share it
Sure.
from here, and then, plus I had handed out hard copies of it, Dale, so you can just, there we go, we got it up on the screen now, so you can just go ahead, thanks.
First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to come before you today. One of the things that we talked about earlier is just letting you guys know who Urkel Worldwide is. We've been in the community for roughly 53 years. The site started construction in 1967 and has been in the area the entire time as a functioning member of the community. We are a part of the American Chemistry Council, and we've been operating this facility very safely, with being very responsible to the community, both for employment and in our safety and environmental record. One of the major investments that ERCO made was modifying this facility and investing about $300 million in migrating from mercury to membrane technology, which definitely improved our environmental footprint in the community. ERCO is part of Superior Plus, and Superior Plus is a $2.4 billion operation in Canadian dollars out of Canada. We are their specialty chemicals product line, and definitely a global company. Again, ERCO has been around since 1897. ERCO purchased the Port Edwards facility in about 2005 and have been working in the area since then. And again, as I stated, we've invested over $300 million in this particular site. We currently employ about 92 people here in the Port Edwards area and contribute to the local economy in upwards of $45 to $50 million. The site originally was a Wyandotte chemical facility, and if you were to see it today, it has grown quite a bit. It's probably 3 times the size that it was in the original construction. With Wyandotte in 1967, BASF and Wyandotte merges in 1970. Vulcan purchased the operations in 1980, and ERCO has owned it since 2005. Safety is very important and is a core business policy and culture that we strive for. It's also our our highest priority in making not only safe for our employees, but safe for our community. And it's focused on engaging the workforce and developing a culture that safety, together we can create an injury-free workplace. Some of the products that we make here, and you can see, is chlorine, caustic, soda, and we definitely use those, if you can see, in quite a bit of different areas around everyday products that you use, from wastewater treatment to fertilizer to, also in the de-icing world as well, and of course in the paper mills as well. ERCO is a very responsible community member. We have an active community advisory panel. We are a Gold Award winner for the United Way here locally. We do our blood donor clinic drives at least twice a year. I know we've had to cancel this year, our first one due to COVID, but we're looking at how we're going to reschedule that in the fourth quarter here if possible. We do emergency response drills with all of the local fire department and police departments. We also are big contributors to Mid-State and UWSP for scholarships. And we have just started the process of working with the local school superintendents on other programs to stimulate STEM activities. Again, some of our community activities, $300 million in investments since 2005, roughly a $14 million plus payroll and benefits for the area, for the community, in utilities, payment, roughly about $16 million a year. To your sister city, Port Edwards, we're about 10% of their tax base, and all of our employees are involved in the communities in various efforts throughout the year, and definitely support all the local schools in other projects going forward in the area. And again, the slide kind of talks about some of the things that we're doing with our products that we make and where they go. I won't bore you with a lot of that information, but I did want to make sure that we had the opportunity to share with you who we are and what we represent in the community. Not sure if you have any questions or clarifications.
Does anyone have any questions at this point? Does anyone in the audience have any questions for Urko? All right. There's no questions at this point about the presentation. Joe, did you have any? Did you want to speak, sir? Okay. There's no questions on the overview presentation. Make a motion to go into closed session to discuss the contract. We'll do, I'll make the motion to go into closed session. Motion second, we'll do a roll call vote. Alderperson Kellogg?
Aye.
Alderperson Kubaschak?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Committee is now in closed session to negotiate the contract. Will all parties not involved in the contract negotiation please excuse yourself until the closed session is over. Proposed agreement with Urko. I guess at that, I will let the city attorney explain the agreement that was discussed in closed session.
Okay, this is an agreement for the storage of rail cars in the Rapids East Commerce Center on some siding and track that the city owns. It would be for $15 per car per day with a minimum license fee of $1,000 per month. We've outlined what track is available, and Urko is going to inspect the cars. They assume all liability. They're going to be appropriately insured, and this agreement would be in effect until February 28th, 2022, which is approximately 18 months, but it could be terminated by any party by giving 60 days notice.
All right. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this agreement? Anyone from the public wishes to speak on the Urko agreement? Is there anyone wishing to speak on the Urko agreement at all? All right. Hearing no one wishing to speak for or against the agreement, I will make a motion to accept the agreement from as presented. Oh, sorry. Do you want to speak, sir? Do you want to come up to the podium?
My name's John Miller, and I live at 2210 42nd Street North. There's 10 of us on that street. We all have well water, and we're all concerned about leakage and about getting into our wells. Not only us, but the people behind us that live on Log Home Lane. So our problem is, how do we know? They said, I understand what she said, that they're going to inspect the train once a day.
Right, at least once a day. Plus, we have patrols there at least 5 times a day now, and will probably be increased, a police presence there.
Because there's there's so much traffic. We're on a dead-end street, but you won't believe the amount of walking traffic that is going back in there. So if we're not going to get safe, we're against this. We feel that by them moving into our area, there's other areas closer to Port Edwards. There's downtown Rapids along by the cemetery. There's no cars there. Explain to me why they have to move it out to us where we're using well water.
Joe, do you want to answer that?
This track is currently vacant and available for the city to rent for storage space. So this is the track that we're considering.
And as far as the track that Mr. Miller referenced along First Street, is that city-owned track?
I'm not exactly positive which is city-owned and which isn't there. And but that track is not available for storage for city rent right now.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Anyone else? Hearing nothing else, make a motion to approve the contract as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Motion fails. 1 aye, 2 nays. Next item is consider a referral from the fire department to review the 5 Bugles final facility study results. Chief? Yes, yes, it did.
Excuse me, Scott. Can you turn on your mic, please? Thanks.
So I believe this came up in the fall of 2018 when we were doing the
trying to find it
2018
right
budget
now.
about the possibility of doing a station analysis and just getting a professional opinion on where we sit with our stations as far as gender equality and ADA requirements and safety concerns with them. So in June of 2019, before Finance and Property, they did approve 5 Bugles design to do a station analysis and make recommendations based off of their analysis. And what we have received here last week was their final report. And in there it kind of solidified what we were seeing. We were overcrowded in many areas of our station. The inability to house people appropriately when we have females on shift and we're at full staffing. And I do want to point out with the COVID pandemic now, it's really amplified the issues we have at the stations for overcrowding and the ability to sleep people adequately. We can only have 5 people at Station 1. 5 people we can house at Station 2. We've made some temporary walls out of Station 2 and some roll-away beds out of PVC piping and curtains. And when we're at full staffing at 11 this year, a few times we've had to send the battalion chiefs home with a radio and a department staff vehicle to run the crews from home. So even prior, to COVID, we knew we had issues, and this really magnified the overcrowding and the issues we have at home. So with the study and what you have, I guess it's time to maybe discuss or come up with a plan how we want to move forward. The study has some recommendations that they have. We want to be fiscally responsible. This, to me, couldn't be at a worse time, with the issues going on with Verso. I want to be, recognize that, but yet we still have to do, look out for the department and do what's right, for the city of Wisconsin Rapids and the people we serve. in our station, and the needs we have and the ability to house people has become clear, and I think the analysis points that out. And I'm just looking for direction how we want to move forward with this. So with that, I would take some questions. I would think at some point, some of these questions, I even have some questions, would be better to, maybe have a conference, a Zoom conference or whatever with 5 Bugle Designs to, address any, more detailed questions, because I'm not an architect, and I don't understand quite everything in here when they're talking about efficiency ratios and how they came up with some of their proposals and designs. But in here, you do see there's 2 designs for Station 2, and then there was 4 options for Station 1. And initially there was 3, and we kind of worked with them over the last month or so, kind of with a hybrid option, and that would be option D, that hopefully would make Station 1 usable for the next 20 to 30 years, if not more, but yet scaled it back from option C that was large and the major renovations and remodeling. So we did that, and that's, kind of where we're sitting with Station 1. Station 2, you can see the recommendations. It's outdated. We know we have to stick some money into it just for the bathroom issues, upstairs in the sleeping quarters. But I think eventually a plan needs to be, addressed at Station number 2, maybe a satellite station, a more modest station that's more efficient. We are not looking to stick lots of money into Station number 2. I guess the focus, between these 2 is a real basic plan, upgrades for the bathrooms at Station 2, and more of a modest addition at Station 1 and some renovation so we can get our offices and a training room and bring the sleeping quarters and arrangements up at Station 1. So that's kind of where we sit with this final recommendation from them.
Does anyone have any questions for Chief? Go ahead, Ted.
Mr. Young, just kind of looking at this, originally, how come we're not looking at like even a facility that will give us more room for equipment, whether it's fire trucks or different things like that? How come that wasn't explored in the beginning?
Well, we looked at, initially when we came up before Finance and Property, we had areas of the stations that would be in scope and out of scope. We were trying to address the bathroom situation and the sleeping arrangements. And we are tight on apparatus bay, but the hybrid option that we have, I believe it's option D, what we do have the ability to do in that is to move one of our ambulances that are stacked at Station 1 in the bay into the old ambulance, move our pickup truck into that bay and an ambulance over there. So with this hybrid option, that option D, we are gaining, in essence, some apparatus space by getting our utility pickup out of there and being able to move an ambulance. You do see on option D, there is an option for expansion on the apparatus bay. But we had talked about maybe doing this in phases, and that could always be picked up later. Right now, just trying to be responsible and reasonable with these plans. I wouldn't be asking for that right now because we can move some vehicles around and meet our needs, but that is an option on the future. If you see on drawing D, where they can add on to that apparatus bay, and we could, gain some space that way. But there is a cost, obviously, with construction and more architectural design. So,
I'm sorry, Mr. for further clarification here, I don't see an option D. Are you talking about Appendix D on this particular report? That's where when you had said D is in dog, right?
Right. I have Section 7, Page 1, Option D, Major Addition and Renovation.
Yeah.
I have Section 7, Page 1. I don't have on mine, I don't have page numbers. If you look at that, the addition there and the remodel and renovation on there, to the north side of that is a possible expansion, and that's the bid with the alternate. I think at this time, my recommendation is that, if we want to look at that, phase it in later, we could do it. But we are gaining that EMS storage room. We're moving that out of there, and we would move our utility pickup into that area and be able to move one of the ambulance where it's not boxed in and stacked in. So we are gaining room with this plan here, and that's kind of what we're looking for and trying to maintain costs as best as we could. Did you find it, Alderman Kubaschak?
Not definitively here.
Okay.
Mr. Blazer mentioned page 27 on the PDF, but I'm not seeing anything specifically of option D.
Scott?
Yes.
Option D is kind of what you're leaning with on this?
Well, initially, when they came back with us, I believe we received this, I'm not sure, Tim, late April, or late March, early April. They had option A, B, and C. And then, the announcement came with Verso, and we're trying to be, responsible to meet our needs, and yet, just being fiscally responsible to the taxpayers. So Battalion Chief Lisitz and I, who's got a background in construction, we came up with option D, and that's the one that's in section 7-1, and you may have found it now. And it's a smaller addition than that option C, and it's a remodel and reconfiguring our space to get us, there's some safety concerns with decontamination after fires. We gain all of that. Decon rooms, gear washers. We do gain a training room, and we do get the offices from Station 2 with our other management staff moved to Station 1, and that's kind of what we were looking to do. So this option D accomplishes all of our needs, and we do gain some apparatus space, and then we do have the option in the future to, add on to that apparatus bay if need be. So it's kind of a mix between option B and C. A little more than option B alone, but option B doesn't give us what we need. And option C is a pretty large addition and major renovations.
And how is this going to be funded?
Well, that's what I'm here today for. So, to me, it's the timing is, it looks bad, it appears bad, and I wish circumstances were different. But it doesn't change the needs that we're moving firefighters around stations at night because of sleeping arrangements, and I do believe we should be able to hire and retain female firefighters and operate in a professional manner. So we're just bringing this forward. I'm looking for advice on how we would go about doing this. And I do want to point out in 2018, when this was brought up, this was the direction I was given to do these studies. So we did have 2 bids to do studies. We chose the company 5 Bugles Design and their proposal, and this is what they came up with. This has really been almost going on 2 years now. We've been looking at this, and nothing really has been addressed yet. And I guess this is the first big step in what do we want to do, and what do we want our fire stations to look like, in the next few years and out, 20 to 30 years. So you saw the cost. It's, 1.759 million for option D, and Station 2, I believe, we're just looking at the bathrooms, was 136,000. So between both projects, about 1.9 million.
Tim, is this something that can be funded with a reserve?
Not to the extent of the entire cost. A portion could be funded with reserves, but not the entire amount.
How close could we get them?
Well, depending on, right now I have earmarked about 500,000 for the project based on last year's operations. So, and then obviously with some of the, obviously with the uncertainty of future state budgets, the verso, the impacts of the pandemic, I would probably advise take a conservative approach with your reserves because you may need that to backfill some budget issues while you figure out a long-term solution to some of the, if we get impacted from a budget standpoint.
Thad, you?
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I think this is something that we would bond for. This is something that should last another 20 years. And the reason why in certain situations you bond over 20 years or so is so that your current people right now aren't paying for the whole expenditure right now. They might move away 5 years from now. Something else might happen. Other people may move to the community in 10 years. They should be having a burden of, making a payment on this. So then that goes to the question is are we, and this is what the committee should be deciding, are we looking at specifically doing a Band-Aid with this that is correcting the gender situation that we have with our employees so that everybody is comfortable? And that's number one. We need to get on that. But then the question is it a case where we are making corrections or upgrades to our fire facility that will last for another 20 years? So then if it is just a corrective type of a thing right now, then we would look at reserves. But if we're actually investing in our community, investing in our fire rating, investing in our fire force that we have, without looking at identifying each specific option here, because I apologize, I was not on this. Identifying what is the best bang for our buck, because this is something that we probably will have long-term debt to bond for, specifically for that. So, this definitely, Mr. Young, I don't think that anything should fall drastically upon your shoulders. It's our responsibility as the committee as well as the council to do that. So I appreciate. So don't think that you're in a precarious situation for presenting this and kind of presenting it in 2020 when it was initiated in 2018. But I do agree that with you that it would be a lot easier to discuss going through this if we had a representative with Bungles with that. And but this is the first step. This is a great first step, and to move forward in terms of identifying with what they've seen, but also with what we want to do for investment into the future of our city. So. I don't know, does that make sense? And kind of like what Tim mentioned too, is that if we deplete our savings, there's also ramifications of our bond issuance rating could get lowered from what our issuance rating is now, and different things like that. So even though we have a contingency fund and there are certain things in our unrestricted fund balance, something like this would not be what we would want to do for that. It would be, a long-term borrowing for it.
Thank you, Alderperson Kubiszek. Mayor?
Yeah, I agree. The chief gave me a tour, a pretty detailed tour, and I highly recommend the rest of the council take a look at the living quarters. I don't want to be disrespectful at all, but I keep saying it's about deer camp. I felt like I was stepping into deer camp, and I think this is a 24-hour professional facility, and I think we need to get it to that standard. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. With that being said, Mr. Fire Chief, are you interested in contacting Bungles and seeing what you can do about the next, like, regularly scheduled Finance Committee time period, seeing if they're available? And
Absolutely. If you gave me, dates that you're willing to, your meeting, I'm sure we could schedule a meeting with them.
without being out of turn, usually the first Tuesday, kind of rule of thumb, first Tuesday about 4:30, 4:45 p.m.
So, I mean, if you're looking at, September, October, I'd be more than happy to reach out. They could answer.
Next meeting would be September 1st. probably.
Okay. They would answer the questions better than me. I'm looking at it like you, and I'm not the expert. I didn't draw these. They would have a better idea of the concept. And I just want to point out, this is the very basic conceptual plan. There's the fees in there, everything in there is included for their, if we were to move forward with more designs and getting to the point where they'd have blueprints to put it out for bid for us. And that's all included in the cost here. So, but I think they would be a great resource to have if you have questions that are deeper than what I can answer. So I can invite them to September 1st.
All right. Anyone else have any questions for Fire Chief or comments? Then we'll have 5 bugles here on September 1st and look at this plan again. Thank you, Chief. Item number 4 is consider a referral from Alderperson Kellogg to review the police department body camera program and update the committee and the council on the program. Alderperson Kellogg, I'll start with you.
We've had the body cameras for the last year, and I think it's great, and I think the Common Council at the time all unanimously agreed. But the concern I have is what has happened, what has been the training? Do we have enough body cameras? Just an update since it's been a year, and we're going to be going into the budget in November, and it's just kind of a good time to what has happened, what's the training, what's the success of it, and do we need more cameras, things like that.
I was notified about this yesterday when I saw the agenda. I apologize. I will attempt to answer all your questions. We didn't have a lot of time to prepare for this, but the program has been in effect now since about January of this year. Mm-hmm. We have had the cameras on every officer that's in the field with the exception of Deputy Chief and myself, and have hundreds and hundreds of hours of digital video of officer interactions with citizens, and it has been a very positive effect. One of the reasons I wanted the cameras to start with was to level the playing field, so to speak, as far as video out there, where there was video from one side, but the police department didn't have video for ourselves. We have at least 3, maybe 4 off the top of my head, complaints lodged against officers that were absolutely proven to be false by video evidence. I think those cameras pay for themselves with that. As far as your training, we have had extensive training in the cameras that were provided by the vendor. We actually paid for the training, where the vendor, Axon USA, came to the police department with one of their trainers and trained all of our officers who would be operating the cameras. That training included how to operate the camera, how to download the evidence, how to preserve the evidence, how to look it up, so the training was, even myself, I sat to the training myself, and I can attest that it was very good training, and we paid good money for it. We have also, in the books and now on the website, we have the policy and procedure for the video cameras, for the body-worn cameras, that dictate when the cameras are to be used, when they're not to be used, preservation of evidence, proper procedure, et cetera. We literally have a policy and procedure for everything in the police service, including how to get dressed for your shift. So to think that we don't have one for the body cameras is false. We do, and it's a good one. Again, I attest that this camera program was long needed. It's been very successful, and I'm very pleased to have it because, again, the money that the city spent to put these cameras on the officers is going to save you a lot of money down the road. So if there are any specific questions about the program that I can answer, we'll be happy to. Deputy Chief is actually the technical guru on the end of this because he knows technology, so.
Well, with regard to the procedures, what happens if an officer turns it off when it should be on?
Then there are some discipline issues there that I will handle.
Okay, because you hear about that in the news,
Yes.
you know?
It is in our policy as to when it is to be on, and that is, in a nutshell, is every time you're having an interaction with a citizen, your camera will be on. And if there is a break in the camera footage, then you're going to have a lot of explaining to do.
Do we need more cameras? I mean, you said every officer that's out in the field, but do we need more?
That's a good question. I don't know if we need, I will, well, let's put it this way, as a plug for the next budget. We are going to ask in next year's budget that we also start utilizing Axon cameras in the squad cars to get rid of the antiquated cameras that we use in the cars, so that we have one manufactured platform for both body cameras and car cameras, which all use the same cloud-based storage system that we're already paying licenses for.
That's good.
So as far as body-worn cameras, if we need more, I don't know, it's a good question. Do you think we need more?
Well, right now our detectives aren't equipped with them because it wasn't part of our regular plan. The idea is that we could equip the detectives with them for interviews. They're effective, but of course they're also expensive. Some of the things they can use sometimes can be just a regular digital recorder for their interviews. Of course, that's just audio, that's not video and audio. We're actually getting price bids just to find out what it would cost, you know, for the additional ones, which is would be 5 more cameras, which would cover the detectives. But otherwise, like our school resource officers have them, or all of our patrol officers, patrol sergeants, patrol lieutenants, they all have cameras. They all have body-worn cameras.
Well, something to think about for the detectives. What happens to the footage? I mean, you said you have plenty of footage and so forth. Do you keep it for 6 months, or do you keep it for a month, or?
Depending on the video, all videos are kept for the minimum. It's the 120-day rule, which is also in the state law. We keep, and what they are is after 120 days, if they're not tagged for evidence, if it's not something that we want to hang on to for a trial or something along those nature, it is overwritten. It's all kept in the cloud-based storage. It's very secure. There's only certain people in the police department that can access those and make changes to them, et cetera. The average everyday patrol officer can't do that. He can view his own video, but he can't do anything else. So if the video is not of evidence, because like I said, we turn the camera on for every interaction we have with a person, a lot of those things are not evidentiary purpose at all. They're just recordings. So those are overwritten to save storage in the cloud. But we can go in and tag a video for driving under the influence, or a domestic dispute, or a battery, or shoplifting. And then those officers can go in and access those videos down the road for trial until we can burn a copy, send it to the DA, et cetera. No, burn a copy, I just dated myself. Actually, what we do is we send a link to the DA and he can open it up on his computer. So it's a pretty amazing system.
Good. I just think it's important, since we funded this, an update. Sounds like you're doing a great job with it.
We're very happy to have it. We're better off with it than without it. That is the gospel.
Good, thanks.
Anyone else have any
question
for the police chief? Jake?
Thank you. So I just wonder, how subject to the open records law are our body cam footage? Are we holding it for the right amount of time? Is it similar to other records? Where do we stand with that?
Well, we are holding it for the amount of time that is required by the state, which again was the 120 days. Other videos are kept forever if it's a serious case. They are subject to the open records requests, and we do provide those pursuant to our open records request policy.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
Deputy Chief, for being here.
Thanks.
Oh, again, I'd like to extend the invitation that if anybody, and I've said this before, if any alderman would like to come to the police department and actually view the system in action and see what you can listen to me talk about it all day, but if you actually come and see, you'll actually be surprised how helpful it is. So again, the doors down to PD are always open to you guys if you want to come and see what we do.
Thank you, Chief. Item number 5 is discuss the Labor Day celebration fireworks display. Sue, do you have anything on that?
Well, it originally was rescheduled to September 5th, which is the Saturday of Labor Day weekend. And the fireworks vendor just wanted to confirm whether that was going to be a firm date or not. Right now, our forfeiture of the display, if we don't have it this year, is $1,000. So if we do have a display yet this year, there won't be any forfeiture at all. But otherwise, if we don't have one, the forfeiture is $1,000. So that's 5% of the 5%, I think. Right? It's a $20,000 display. So, so I guess I think the mayor had talked about whether with staff about that, and I think he thought the council should talk about it and decide whether you still want to do the display or not. So,
Mayor?
Yeah, Ms. Schill's correct. I think we're at a point where we need to decide whether or not we're going to have the fireworks on September 5th. I've been trying to think of an open air place that we could go and maybe, whether it be a drive up but we just don't have a good space available for that. And so realistically, I think on Labor Day weekend, it would probably draw a very super large crowd down to our downtown. And is that necessarily the best thing to do right now? So that's why I thought it was appropriate that we bring it to committee and council to make that decision.
Well, my opinion is the governor just put this mask order into place effective Saturday. COVID continues to spread. I'd hate to lose $1,000, but I think that's kind of a minimal problem compared to having people come from all over with no idea where they come from, and then have potentially more people affected with COVID-19. So the fireworks display was $20,000. We'd forfeit $1,000 if we don't do it this year. I think maybe a way to go is if the $19,000 was budgeted for the fireworks, roll that over to the next year. If COVID's no longer with us, we could probably just do a bigger 4th of July display next year that more people could probably enjoy. But in my own opinion, I don't think it's reasonable or safe to pack hundreds of people into downtown area. Anyone else have anything?
If I may, please.
I got Thad here first, and I'll go to you. Okay, Jake?
Thank you.
Yeah, real quick. I just learned today that someone that works for the same company that I do on an adjacent job tested positive, so it's coming. The gentleman lived in a different part of the state that was working over toward where we're at, so we don't know what the heck we're going to do right now in terms of myself and my crew are not part of the deal, but I mean the big boss, the owner of the company, came down and we had kind of a powwow. So no, it's coming, whether we want to pretend that this is fake or whatever. But yeah, if we have a big group event like this, there will be a lot of people coming down to the riverbank or wherever else to view the fireworks, but we're going to put a lot of people in jeopardy.
Alderperson Katna?
Thank you. So I remember last year when I was on finance and property reading through the contract, it was if we didn't hold the fireworks within a certain amount of time, I believe it was a year, we would be at a loss of the entire amount paid. I don't remember anything about $1,000 delay. My ask here would be is just that we get a copy of the contract, maybe read over it, because I'd hate to completely forfeit the entire $20,000, and that's just off of my memory of what I read, unless things have changed.
I'm sure it's 1,000. I just had the discussion with the operator, the display operator, so, but I can pull that up right now, but I think it was right. If it was not done within a year, it'd be $1,000, which was 5% of the contract, and then it actually didn't forfeit more until it was much closer to the date. But I think I can access that.
Yeah, if we could, that'd be great. Just in an email. I don't want to, delay it off, and then we find out that we just canceled the whole contract. And then the other thing would be is if I agree with what everyone said, and gathering right now might not be the best, but then what is the potential next date? We're pushing into fall and then into next spring, and I don't think that question needs to be answered now, but maybe we could start floating some ideas.
Yeah, I have the contract in front of me, and it says if in the event of a postponement of the fireworks display, customer shall be responsible for payment based on the schedule below. And it says if customer, schedule below shall be due within 15 days. At any time prior to the scheduled date, 5% of the contract price. At any time on the scheduled date, 20%. After the commencement of the fireworks display, when the operator has not determined that the postponement is necessary, 100%. So it's 5%. I could probably see that if we did one, he had said if we did it within a year that he would not even charge the 1%. But I think now that we're into September, we might still owe, or the 5%, but we might still owe that. But at the maximum would be $1,000, and I can see if you decide not to have it this fall and wait till next year, maybe they might consider waiving that. But the most we would be responsible for would be $1,000.
So we can potentially roll this over just as next year's July 4th fireworks.
Right. I would need to, right. They usually need to know months in advance, so that would be something to, if you wanted to say, well, we're not going to do it this year, but maybe let's plan on next July 4th, then I could at least pencil us in, and then we can see where we're at in the spring and going into summer, but.
Well, I don't have power to make a motion on this committee, but I think where we're at and seeing that we're going into fall and then into spring and next summer, at this point, why not just plan to roll this contract over to next 4th of July?
And Sue, I got a question for you since you have that contract up. Is there any sort of exit clause in that contract? I mean, COVID-19 is unique in itself, but I mean, obviously if the day before the 4th of July, if the community had a terrible storm and a lot of our infrastructure was critically damaged, I don't think we'd be having fireworks. So do they put something in the contract, like if you have these unforeseen circumstances where you can exit the contract, or is there no language in there to that effect?
Well, I guess I don't think I think it's a very reasonable clause that they have, and it's pretty much if we wanted to cancel for any reason, whether it's pandemic or other tragedy, or just we don't feel like it, or we didn't raise the money, it's 5%, which actually they've already gone through and got the display together and worked on it. As you know, it's choreographed to music, so there is a lot of time involved in that. I think the amount forfeited is really not that much, but no, there isn't anything in here that would allow us to not have any penalty. Although, like I said, we've had a great relationship with them, and it's possible that maybe they would waive that. But if we, schedule for next year, but who knows what might happen by next year? So. But no, there's nothing that would allow us to get out without any penalty.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
With that, I would make a motion to cancel any fireworks display for the remainder of 2020 and to direct staff to work with the fireworks display company to see if we can either roll over the current contract into 2021 or work on a new contract for the 4th of July of 2021. We have motion and second. Is there any other further discussion? Attorney?
One other, excuse me, thing that came up was that and this might happen or it might not, depending on how the community feels, but they were asking, some bar owners were asking if there was going to be any type of a celebration like the 4th of July, where we close the street and have events and so on. I'm assuming that we're not going to do that since we're not going to have the fireworks, right? So we would tell the bar owners that are contacting us that the city's not going to be closing the street. And I guess if they do want to do something on that day or any day, we do have the temporary premises extension that we could just look at on a case-by-case basis, I guess. But just that we would tell them that there's no plans to do anything then on the 4th of July. On behalf of the city, right.
For
Okay.
the remainder of 2020.
Right, okay.
We have motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 6 was the beverage operator licenses. Did anyone else want to look at them? There were none. Recommend denied by the police chief. All right, I'll make a motion to accept the beverage operator licenses as presented. Have motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 7 is consider referral from Public Works to authorize payment of $63,526.68 in aggregate expenses for the aquatics project directly related to the subcontractor to save the city $11,344.05. Joe?
The referral document has all the pertinent information in it, but the background information is the aquatics contract has a provision for direct payment for aggregate used on that project. The cost for aggregate was bid to be $16.50 per ton based on the actual amount that was placed. The project estimate was 4,200 tons, but 4,500 tons was placed, which amounts to a total of $74,870.73. How this works is the subcontractor submits that information to the contractor bills the city and gets a percentage of the cost for that for administrative. So both the general contractor and subcontractor, we're willing to allow the subcontractor to bill that aggregate directly at a cost of $14 a ton, which reduces that city liability by $11,000. So we had $69,300 planned for aggregate for that 4,200 tons. And by them allowing us to do this, reduces that from 69,000 to 63,000. But because it's not spelled out exactly in the contract, felt that it was essential to bring it before a committee because it is a deviation. So the recommendation is asking the committee to consider a motion to pay the subcontractor directly $63,526.68 for aggregate used on the aquatics project.
Thad?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I don't understand, how come, why would the general contractor be interested in, I guess, losing money, as well as I would assume that the aggregate contractor would be too, because if I look at this, it's about 15% concession, right?
Right, and that's the difference between what the general, or what the subcontractor was going to get and the markup by the general.
But I mean, where did this, I don't understand. Help me connect the dots here. Where did this come from?
Just working with the general contractor, trying to see if we could save a little money on the project, and they're willing to work with us on that.
So it was you, or I'm sorry, I don't want to single you out. It was the city trying to find cost savings measures that you reached out to the general contractor and you said, listen, there might be some language in here that if you guys agree with us, it makes you guys look good because you're not going to go over. It's going to make them look good because then they're taking a concession being the subcontractor, and it's going to make the city's numbers look good. Right. So that's what you're saying. It isn't that the subcontractor came to us saying that they found something in the contract that says we want to circumvent the general contractor by doing it this way because there's some fine print in here that allows it to do it. It's because there was a cost savings initiative brought forth by either yourself or staff members or on behalf of the city.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other
May I
questions?
speak, please?
Go ahead, Jake.
So, Joe, I just want to make sure when we talk about the savings, again, like Dad said, there's not a lot of detail in here. This isn't the zip line or the climbing wall or the park benches that aren't installed, anything like that, right? We're not just giving up stuff that was supposed to be there in savings for this new offer from the contractors, correct?
No, this was aggregate that was bid to be placed on the project and was placed on the project. It took a little more material than, than what was estimated by our engineer. And, I was just trying to figure out a way if there's a way to save those extra costs, because by contract we would have, we would and should have to pay that $74,870. But both parties are willing to work with us on that. It's additional administration for the general contractor. So there's a margin that they would get, but there's also extra work, and they're busy. And the sub was willing to do it too. So it's a savings on materials that are already placed on the project.
Thank you, Joe. Is there any update you can give on what we might be looking at for the items of the aquatic center that weren't finished this year? I know it's not on the agenda, but
well, the zip line should be here, I think, the end of this month, the end of August. And if I recollect, the climbing wall is supposed to be here, I think, late October, early November.
what about parks or benches at the park?
Park benches showed up today, and the contractor's planning on assembling them either Friday or early next week.
All right, thank you, Joe.
Anyone else have any further? Dean?
Just to clarify, Mr. Terry, that, so you said it's a savings of 11,000, but we budgeted 69? Is that where you said something about 69,000?
Right, so,
but
correct.
It ran over. Is that what?
Correct.
So the savings of 11,000 is from the 74 then?
Correct.
Okay.
From our $11,344.05 from what we would otherwise be obligated to pay in the existing contract.
So, but we budgeted 69 and it ran over?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to understand. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Joe? All right, well, looking at this, I would like to thank Joe for the work he put into this to save the city the $11,344.05. Thank you very much, Joe. In that, I'd make a motion to accept or authorize the payment of $63,526.68 in the aggregate expenses for the aquatic project directly to the subcontractor.
I'll second it.
A motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 8 is discuss and approve the disbursement of Aspirus Arise Premium Rebate. Tim?
Sure. Aspires to Rise gave the city a rebate based on their April 2020 health insurance premiums, and that rebate came to approximately $76,000. And basically what I'm proposing is that we rebate back to the employees' pro rata share of that rebate on their September payroll checks as a decrease in what there would be their normal health insurance contribution for that month. And then retirees will be issued a rebate check for their pro rata share, or if they have their health insurance premiums funded through an accumulated sick leave account here at the city, we would credit their pro rata share back to their account. The city's portion, the employer's portion of that rebate is approximately $65,000. And the question is would you like me to proceed with a budget amendment to adjust the various operating budgets and then put that $65,000 that won't be charged against their health insurance line item back into contingency, or leave it in their operating accounts is basically the option for the employer's share of that.
I guess what is the preferred method on doing this, Tim?
Ideally, I mean, you can look at it both ways. We always adopt the operating budgets at the total department budget, not the individual line items. So they're allowed to overspend one line item and be under in another line item as long as their total departmental budget is equal to or less than the approved budget. So, I mean, so you can look at it both ways. If you want them to have that money in there that they can be spent on other things, or put it back into contingency, my recommendation would be, you know, they had already planned to have that for health insurance, that it be placed in contingency towards some other initiative or project.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Tim? I'll make a motion to have the money from the Aspirus Arise rebate put back into contingency.
I'll second.
A motion and second. Is there any other further discussion?
Also, as part of that motion, that the employees' share would be rebate them back to them in the suggested, the employees' portion would be rebated back to the employee, either through a health insurance deduction or a rebate check.
I would be willing to amend the motion to include that. Would Scott, would you still be willing to uphold your second?
Yes.
Right. Well, the total is 76,000. Yeah, yeah. The 580 is the total Aspirus that they're giving rebates to various employers. So basically, you understand the motion was motion by Coth, second by Kellogg, to transfer the employer's portion of the Aspirus rebate back to contingency through a budget amendment, would be at the next meeting, and that the employees' pro rata share will be rebated back to the employees through a reduction in their health insurance contribution in September, or a rebate check.
All right. Thank you, Tim. We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Item 9 was disposed of at the beginning of the meeting. Item number 10 is consider referral from Alderperson Catnaugh to review emission rates for the Aquatic Center and discuss and take action on rates for the next season. Jake, are you still on the line?
Yep.
I'll let you go ahead. It's your referral.
Yeah, so I'll just put this out there. I mean, the Aquatic Center, as we've talked about many times, I'm not going to rehash a bunch of conversations we've had in the past month, but it was paid for by the Wisconsin taxpayers. I know we went back and forth on that, and we do want to have the park full. We don't want to have an empty pool. We want concessions to have good sales, but the fact that they're paying only $2 less than non-residents, I think we need to do one of two things. We need to do a study on how we can even this out, that the Rapids taxpayer is paying the same rate when they show up at the gate that someone from out of town is, and that we need to fix that rate. I don't think this is something that a motion needs to be made on tonight. I think it's something we need to work towards till next season when the park opens. but it does need to be rectified. They're paying through it through their tax dollars. They're paying at the gate, and our job, everyone in the room tonight and everyone who's elected, is to represent them, and they're not getting a fair shake, no matter which way you put it. So I just think that needs to be an ongoing study, an ongoing issue. I was first told this would go to Parks and Rec. I see it's on the agenda tonight. I'm not sure that it's appropriate to make a motion or set a price without a study done, but I think the Rapids taxpayer should at least be showing up at the gate and paying the same amount someone from out of town is. And that is not the case this summer. And I understand it's our first summer of operation and we're going to have some kinks like this, but it's something over the next year we got plenty of time to figure out. And so that's why I made the referral, and I just hope that we can keep this on the agenda as a working motion to figure out what we can do to make sure our taxpayers are at least paying the same, because right now they're paying way more. So that's why I put the referral in. I'm open to anybody else's ideas, or I think we should personally do a study of what they are paying in their property taxes, the average citizen compared to the non-average citizen, and then what they pay at the gate, because $6 for a non-resident, $4 for a resident who's paying taxes, it just doesn't make any sense. And they're not getting any more referral treatment of getting in more than the non-residents. I mean, we went over all that, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse there, but it's something that I would like to be considered, and I know that a lot of residents in the area do as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Mayor?
I couldn't agree more with you, Jake. In speaking to our finance director, he has a plan or a thought on trying to come up with an equalized value to resident and non-resident rates, which kind of the thought is hopefully, and I agree, I think it probably should start in Park and Rec and have that discussion there. As Mr. Terry and the rest of the staff have been accumulating things that have worked and things that haven't worked that we're going to be able to reevaluate after the season, and talk to Mr. DeSorcy that, even in November, coming up with a thought. So then by the time Christmas comes around, we have maybe a better idea on some prices for people that are interested in Christmas presents and those type of things. But I agree.
Dean?
Yeah, I've talked to the mayor and Jake about this a number of times myself, and I agree completely. And not to throw out numbers at this point, obviously, as we said, but it just seems like to alleviate city staff, and I like to keep it simple, stupid, and to alleviate city staff, excuse me, something more along the lines of $5 and $10 is something I was thinking, just in fact that it doesn't have any single dollar bills in that case. And it's, again, it's a taxpayer paid operation. And at this point, I don't even know if, based on a study, if we find out if that would even it out. So that's my thoughts.
Alderperson Kubitschek?
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I think one thing that we want to keep in mind too, and I understand the inequity or the perceived inequity of this, because it obviously, myself included, is paying a bulk of this, but we also don't want to discourage other people from other communities coming in, because they are sharing in the current capital expenses, whether it's the water or whether it's paying for lifeguards or whoever else. And I don't remember if it was 10, 15 years ago, but there was a knock on the university system for having out-of-state kids coming in, and especially UW-Madison, that there was a rather large, I don't know what the percentage is, but there was a large percentage of out-of-state tuition holders. And one of the suggestions, or one of the arguments for it was this, yeah, we get 3 times the amount of tuition from them. Your tuition for in-state studies is being subsidized by the kids that are coming here from New York and Wyoming and Texas and everywhere else. So we need to have a careful balance. Now, I'm not suggesting that people from outside of the city pay the exact same, but we need to strike a balance so that we do encourage people from coming into our aquatic center from other surrounding areas at a reasonable price so that we can keep them coming. Because if there's a drop off, there's a law of diminishing returns when it comes to that, and we have finite costs. It's going to cost the city X amount of dollars for lifeguards, for treating the pool and everything else. So whatever we can get above and beyond that payback is profit, and if we can profit from that at that highest point, that's what we want to do. So without having data and I don't, when I say this, I don't want to suggest that anybody's jumping to conclusions or getting ahead, but without having data, we're only going to make poor decisions. We need that data first, and it's going to take a little bit of time. But once we get that data, once we can crunch that data, then that's when we're going to be able to make sound judgments with that. So I think patience is a virtue in this particular situation.
We're winding down on the season. There's only a couple weeks left at the pool now. I agree with Thad. And the memo that Joe put out today, let's just take the time and do a rate study on this, but also keep it in mind what Jake said, that we don't back burner it and that it stays alive either here or through Parks and Rec, but that it gets looked at and that we have the numbers. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Would it be appropriate for us to, or someone on the committee to make a motion to give city staff the direction to start this study?
We could. Do you got the same memo that Joe gave us here? Did you get that email to you there, Jake? No? I'm just going to read you the last paragraph here, Jake, and it basically says, once the season comes to an end in 3 to 4 weeks, all operating data can be compiled and summarized. I would recommend this data should be used to evaluate the operating costs and revenues of the facility and considered prior to establishing the 2021 rates. I'd also recommend, in accordance with 209, para 17, para C, para 1 of the city code, that the Parks and Recreation Commission is the body authorized by the city to manage and operate the municipal swimming pool in the best interest of the city and its inhabitants. What are your thoughts on that paragraph, Jake?
I just want to make sure that it stays an agenda item, because my referral ended up on this Property and Finance Committee meeting. Do I need to make another referral, or how do we keep this, making sure it's an action? Is it going to be an action in movement because of our conversation tonight, or do I need to make another referral specifically to Parks and Rec? How do we proceed there?
It could be a referral from this committee to Parks and Rec for them to start working on it. But according to this memo here from Joe, it'd be giving it the time after the pool is shut down for them to compile all the data. So Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, they'd probably be looking at September or October at a Parks and Rec committee meeting to even start doing this?
Right. I would anticipate probably if that commission meets late September, could be late September, otherwise October. And I mean, my personal recommendation is that, you know, a committee like Public Works, for example, has a standing referral list. And I think that'd be wise for every committee or commission to have a standing referral list, so that if a referral like this is placed, even though it's discussed at this committee, if it's on the Park and Rec referral list, it doesn't come off that list until the chairperson and the commission agrees that the item should either be disposed of or it's addressed. Because there are things that we refer that sometimes take months, and in some cases they're projects like 8th Street, for example, that may take years. So having a referral list, I think, is beneficial for all the committees. Some committees, typically Finance and Property, for example, disposes of the items at the next meeting, so there's no list per se.
Scott?
And that's and that's my concern, is just do we need to refer this back to Parks and Rec? I just don't want this item to die, or do I need to make another referral, or that's kind of my question here.
Scott, did you want to speak?
I'm concerned about the timeliness. I'd like to have it back to the Common Council in October. Going back to what the mayor said, be nice to have something identified in November for people wanting to buy Christmas presents, etc. So whatever the timing, whatever the motion is, but to come back to the Common Council at least by October with the recommendation.
If we send this to Parks and Rec, then it's going to come back to Common Council and the reports that we normally approve the balance of at the end of the Common Council meeting. But on the Parks and Rec Commission, I believe Tom and I are the only two Common Council members that are on that commission, but any other alderperson of the 8 of us can sit in on that meeting and participate in that meeting as well. So within our committee, I'm comfortable with sending it to Parks and Rec. What are your guys' thoughts?
I'm fine with it. I'd just like to have it come back to the Common Council for final approval in October.
All right. So I will make a motion to send the review of the pool admission rates to the Park and Rec Commission and have a presentation to the City Council by the October Common Council meeting. We have a motion and second. Is there any other further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 11 is audit of the bills. Everyone have a chance to look at those in your email?
Yeah.
Any questions?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve check numbers 4532 to 5047. We have a motion second. Is there any other further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 12 is to set our next meeting date, which the first Tuesday in September would be September 1st. Does that work for everybody? Once again, we are behind for Public Works by about 45 minutes, so I was going to ask if we have a desire to maybe move back our meeting time a little further so we're not holding Public Works over. I mean, can we start any earlier than 4:45, I guess is what I'm asking, Scott?
I can't. I don't know about that.
All right. I just want to be courteous to the other committee that normally follows us so that they're not sitting here till midnight.
4:30 is fine with me.
All right. So I would like to call for our next meeting September 1st at 4:30 p.m. And item number 13 is adjournment. Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it, and we are adjourned at 6:45 p.m. Thank you much.